All right, listen up. Bedside maneuvers are your diagnostic scalpel. You need to be fast and you need to be right.
Okay, most murmurs, and I mean most, follow one simple rule. More blood equals more sound. We're going to start with preload. That's the volume of blood filling the heart right before it contracts. Let's move.
Squatting and leg lifts, these flood the heart with blood, cranking up that preload. This makes nearly every single murmur louder. But, and this is key, here are your outliers. HOCM and MVP, Hypertrophic Cardiomyopathy and mitral valve prolapse. They actually get softer. Why? Because all that extra blood stretches the ventricle and pulls the obstruction open. Next up, the Valsalva maneuver. Have the patient bear down like they're trying to pop their ears on a plane. This tanks the preload. So logically, most murmurs get softer, right? But HOCM and MVP, they absolutely scream louder. It's the complete opposite.
Finally, hand grip. Tell them to squeeze your fingers as hard as they can. This jacks up the afterload. That's the resistance the heart is pumping against. Now, this makes your regurgitant murmurs, like aortic and mitral regurgitation, way louder, while making aortic stenosis softer. Got it? Preload, afterload, solve the murmur.
Let's go! Now, before we dive deeper, a quick but very important note for all our colleagues watching around the world. This content is for educational purposes, for international boards only. It is not medical advice. Always consult official guidelines and a specialist physician for clinical decisions. Okay, Sarah, let's get into it. The most common third-order question on the boards is differentiating aortic stenosis from HOCM. They are both systolic crescendo-decrescendo murmurs, so how do we tell them apart?
Why does the Valsalva maneuver act as the ultimate tiebreaker?
It really comes down to a space issue, Dr. Collins. When a patient performs a Valsalva, straining against a closed glottis, venous return, or preload, just plummets. The left ventricle literally becomes smaller. Now, in aortic stenosis, less blood means less turbulence shooting through that stiff valve, so the murmur gets softer. Simple. But in HOCM, that smaller ventricle brings the overgrown septum and the mitral valve even closer together, which actually worsens the obstruction. And that makes the HOCM murmur louder. For HOCM, less blood truly means more sound.
Precisely. Less is more for HOCM and MVP. It's the perfect way to remember it. So let's pivot to afterload, which, as you can see here, is the resistance the heart has to pump against. A common way to increase afterload at the bedside is with the hand grip maneuver. So, Sarah, break it down for us. How does this affect regurgitant murmurs like MR and AR?
Well, the hand grip acts like putting a dam downstream in the aorta, Dr. Collins. By increasing the pressure in all the systemic pipes, you force more blood to leak backward through any failing valves. So your mitral regurgitation and aortic regurgitation get much, much louder. But here's the bonus. Because it's harder for blood to move forward, it actually decreases the pressure gradient across the aortic valve in aortic stenosis, making that one softer.
Outstanding. And I really want to emphasize for everyone watching, this isn't just for exams. The 2023 European Society of Cardiology guidelines highlight that these maneuvers are essential for HOCM screening in the clinic. This is real-world stuff. Sarah, one last piece. Inspiration. Let's seal it here.
Absolutely. Just remember RILE, Dr. Collins. RI for right-sided murmurs get louder on inspiration, and LE for left-sided murmurs get louder on expiration. When you breathe in, you increase venous return to the right side of the heart, making murmurs like tricuspid regurgitation louder. Breathing out does the opposite for the left side. It's that simple. Spot on. Know the preload with squatting, the afterload with hand grip, and the side with the breath. All right, Sarah, let's lock in the maneuvers. Repeat after me.
Valsalva drops the fill.
HOCM is the thrill. Louder. Squatting makes it quiet. Hand grip, afterload riot. AR/MR up. RILE is the side. Links. Review the ride. Maneuvers locked. HOCM is louder on Valsalva. AR and MR are louder on hand grip. And we'll definitely review those guidelines. All right, time for our question of the day. Have you ever seen a patient actually pass out while performing a Valsalva maneuver during an exam? I mean, it can be a really powerful vagal stimulus. Tell us your clinical dynamic exam stories in the comments below. We want to hear them. Excellent. We've totally mastered these core physical exam maneuvers today. Now, if you really want to close the gap on inflammatory heart conditions, make sure you're subscribed and join us for our next special module on myocarditis. You're not going to want to miss it.